Hey, what's up everyone, Ragey Gold Nico here, having way too much fun as always. And for the life of me, I still can't understand how anybody still trusts the mainstream media. And not just because of all the provable fake news stories and blatant sensationalism either. Even on a more personal level, it should be obvious that they can't be trusted. Looking back, literally every damn time the media talks about something I actually have a lot of knowledge of, they are blatantly lying. Off the top of my head, let's talk about Gamergate, since that seems to be the other side's favorite boogeyman. Look at how the media reported about that. Oh, it's just a bunch of misogynist loser neckbeard gamers who hate women and want to run them out of gaming. They just want to keep gaming a boys' club. That's all Gamergate was about. Except, as anyone who's actually been a part of this can tell you, that's not at all how it was. Hell, go back to even how this all started, to the original Zoe post. And for those of you who don't remember, that was when Zoe Quinn's ex-boyfriend outed her as having done sexual favors for at least 5 prominent game journalists and indie developers in return for preferential treatment and favorable coverage for her Choose Your Own Adventure book. For those of you who were there, just try to think back to this incident and remember how we kept trying to focus on the 5 guys in the industry and how corrupt they are. But nah, they wouldn't let us have that. Being the attention whore she is, Zoe Quinn herself kept inserting herself into it and making it all about her. Oh, we're only bringing this up and talking about it because she's a woman and we're trying to keep her out of gaming. And she kept flinging shit at us, and then when we flung some of the shit she was flinging back at her, all of a sudden we all hate women, and that's the narrative the media went with. Same with Sarkeesian, actually. She's a proven con artist who was caught on camera admitting she doesn't know anything about video games and isn't a gamer, so she had to do some research before starting her scam. And coincidentally, this does not match up at all with the story she likes to tell people in public right now. She went around telling all her supporters and the game journalists that she's been a lifelong gamer. But anyway, don't need to go through that whole story. Thunderfoot actually did some pretty good exposed videos on that. But the Cliff Notes version is she flung unfounded accusations at us and tried to destroy our hobby, and some would argue she actually succeeded at it in a lot of cases. And then when we fought back, it's clearly because we hate women and want to keep them out of gaming. And again, that's how the lying mainstream media reported on it. So knowing all of this, here is the million-dollar question. If every time the media covers a topic I actually know about, they are blatantly lying about it, and then whenever they have experts on, these so-called experts are just ideological propaganda pushers who are also perpetuating lies, why the fuck would I trust anything they have to say on topics that I don't have any knowledge about? Their record on topics I actually know about is pretty abysmal. So either I'm just quote-unquote lucky and the only things they lie about are specifically what I happen to be interested in, or maybe, much more likely, they lie about everything. Maybe they don't even care about reporting the news, but instead they want to push an agenda. Oh wait, that might be exactly it. I seem to recall that that's pretty much what they're being taught in journalism courses these days. Didn't it used to be get the truth out there? Now it's get the agenda out there by any means necessary. Though actually, now that I think about it, knowing how often the media is caught lying these days, maybe it's always been that bad. Maybe they have always been blatant liars to this huge degree, and it's just that we didn't have any way of fact-checking them in the past. Maybe they always only cared about pushing an agenda or acting as a propaganda arm of the government. But back then, we didn't have the internet, so they could not be proven liars with one 10-second cell phone video direct from the scene that they are lying about. It's almost as if this is the real reason the dying old media hate the internet so much. Sure, there is the fact that they are being replaced and that the only thing they are losing faster than their relevance is their earnings, but the fact that us common plebs have a way to fact-check them must be infuriating. For decades, hell, centuries, they used to be the gatekeepers of information. Unless you were present on the scene that they were reporting on yourself or had access to someone who was, you had literally no way to fact-check them. If something important happened that the media didn't want to talk about, they just didn't. And as a citizen, all you could do was keep writing them in hopes they would cover it. Yeah, sure, you could go around telling people yourself, but even the news didn't talk about such a major issue. So that means you must be some crazy paranoid conspiracy theorist. But nowadays, not only does everyone carry a camera with internet access on them at all times, but it's easier than ever to upload and search for this information. Say, for example, the media reports on some protest and how there were thousands of people making their voices heard, but a simple search for that same protest yields videos and photos from the scene showing it was maybe 200 people tops, and the media purposely used misleading angles to make it seem bigger than it was. Now, does this mean that the mainstream media always lies and everything random plebs like me upload is true? Of course not. Hell, just like how the media is so easily fact-checked these days, the rest of us are too. I've made mistakes before and been called on it. Hell, it's even happened live on stream before. If I say something that's factually wrong, I'm getting spammed with links proving it. And when that happens, I have no choice but to admit I fucked up, and I'm okay with that. But the media isn't. They are supposed to be the gatekeepers of information, the ones who decide what the rest of us get to know. Us plebs shouldn't have the power, authority, or ability to fact-check our masters. They have never been in this position before, so they are freaking out. They can no longer lie their asses off knowing that as long as all of the networks collude on what narrative they're willing to push, nobody will be able to deny that their story is the truth. But everything I've said up to this point is actually pretty obvious. What's really scary is the fact that pretty much everyone in the population actually knows this. Hell, everyone I've talked to about this has agreed with me when I said that every time the media talks about something I actually have knowledge of, they are lying. But they still trust the mainstream media and go to them. Some of them even unironically say to my face, well, yeah, of course they'd be lying to us to push an agenda. That's just what they do. And knowing this full well, they still refuse to tune out the lying agenda pushers. This is the scariest part and goes beyond just willful ignorance. This is knowingly accepting and excusing evil. At this point, the only use I see for the mainstream media is actually just as a beacon. We can learn through them about events that we wouldn't have had any knowledge of in the first place, and then do our own research to verify the facts about those events. Well, at least until they get their way and the West cracks down on freedom of information like China has been doing. And you know they will, because as I say, every damn time a topic like this comes up, China is the canary in the coal mine when it comes to internet censorship. Everything China does, the West decries as being totalitarian and then quietly one-ups when nobody is looking. And in China, they've already banned independent news sources, aka everyone who's not an official Communist Party mouthpiece. Because the fact is, if there's one thing liars hate more than anything, it's the presence of truth-tellers, especially if they have evidence to back it up. And this is further proof of who's been telling the truth, too. If the mainstream media has been telling us the truth, couldn't they just debunk the independent sources the same way that the independents do to them and cause them to lose all credibility? Yeah, they definitely could, but that would require that they were not blatantly lying to us to push an agenda. And that's all I gotta say, guys. Thanks for listening.